Hey everybody, welcome to Book Talks with Miss Thomas. I'm Miss Thomas and this is Truffles. As promised, I'm doing another vlog. This one is on the Manor House. I just started the Manor House today. I am an hour in, and in the Manor House, there is this character named Nicole, and she has this beautiful house that she has custom made. She didn't start out with a lot of money, but she won the lottery. And so she and her husband, Tom, they were childhood sweethearts, and they're very, down to earth people. They don't want a lot of attention and drama. So they quietly use their lottery winnings and they have this incredible house built. And it reminded me of The Veldt by Ray Bradbury. I mean, it was like one of those houses where everything, if you think you know who, I think Alexa's unplugged, but if you think that's creepy, you know how she can listen to you sometimes even when you don't know it. The house is like that. It has speakers in the walls, and it can sense when you're in the room and it'll play music, and it's like this creepy house with a mind of its own. And Nicole comes home to find her husband. She's looking for him, and he is face down, drowned in the pool outside. So she thinks hopefully it's an accident, and she runs to her neighbors, and her neighbor the woman is like this yoga teacher, and the guy's this writer. And immediately the guy is sending out creepy vibes. I'm only an hour in, but he just found out his neighbor's been murdered, and he's sitting there pondering, all kinds of bizarre things, and he's having dark thoughts. And I'm thinking, okay, there's something not quite right about him. I don't know though. I'm very early into the mystery, but we have this. At first I thought maybe the house somehow killed this guy too. Now he could have died accidentally. I don't really know yet. I suspect it's a murder mystery, and my first suspect is the house itself. I don't know. It was recommended to me by a friend who's a Christian, so I don't think it's going to be one of those, kooky supernatural type books where the house is actually a demon or something. I don't think anything like that. But I did think with the advancements of technology, there might be some kind of message there. My second suspect is the neighbor. So we are 1 hour into that audiobook. So far, it's very good. I'll keep you posted. Hey there. So one thing in the book that I am really wondering about is this character, Patrick. Nicole, when her husband Tom died in the pool, she reflects on her husband's best friend, this guy Patrick, and I guess they all grew up together. And she and Patrick had a rivalry and a lot of like negativity there. And she remembers him getting into a fight where he became very violent, but then he, regretted it. And Tom didn't seem too fazed by the fact that, this guy Patrick had a real violent temper, at least that one time. And he had a big falling out with Nick and Patrick Nick being Nicole, when they, won the lottery and got all that money. He wanted money from them and was angry when they didn't give him. They gave him some, but not as much as he wanted. And so they had a falling out. And for some odd reason now, Nicole has invited Patrick to come stay with her because she's uncomfortable in that big digital house all by herself. So Patrick has immediately come to stay with her. And there's a lot of reasons not to trust Patrick, and yet for some reason I do, which has me confused about myself. And another thing is the weird neighbors, Sasha, the yoga teacher, and her husband, the writer, or they're not married. They did finally say they're not married. Her partner, the writer, they show up to, try and talk to Sasha. And they're uncomfortable with Patrick, and they're not real sure what to make of Patrick being there, which makes me trust Patrick because I don't like the yoga instructor and the writer at all. So I'm not going to give you any spoilers. I'm still pretty early in the book, but that's just what I'm thinking so far. Okay, so now I'm 3 hours into Manor House, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit confusing. It's really good. Like I say, it came recommended to me. I'm enjoying it. I definitely see myself finishing this. I'm invested in what's going on in this book. There are definitely some suspicious characters. I'm especially suspicious of, like I said before, the next door neighbor and his partner. I guess it's his wife, but he says his partner. She's like a yoga instructor, and there's just something about her. And early in the book, the husband, the writer, says she's a really fantastic liar. And so that's something that we learn pretty early in the book. Um, I mean, one thing I find confusing in the book is that there is a dual timeline. And I think if it were a written book, I mean, if I were reading it on, paper, that would be easier. But because it's an audiobook and there's a lot going on in my life and days pass, I am not keeping up with all the characters. And I think I'm going to have to sit down and write down everybody's character. But it seems like there's the murder, right? There's the really incredible house, and then the owner appears face down in the pool. And then the neighbors come and help. And we find out at the end of the very first chapter, the husband says, his wife is an excellent, or his partner is an excellent liar. So, right away, there's something about those two, the yoga instructor and the writer. Like, I definitely think they're up to something. And then the main character, Nicole, the wife of the guy who died, I think she's genuine. I'm going to be annoyed if I find out that, the author is telling a lot of the story from her point of view. And so I'm trusting her. And I hope that I don't get like, surprise, there's stuff about her we didn't tell you. I hate that. It's like I'm believing this character because I'm being told the story from this character's point of view. So hopefully the main character is, legitimate and being honest. The dual timeline bothers me because it's like the murder and then it's 5 years ago, and then it's the murder and then it's 5 years ago. And there are various different perspectives in the book. And I like that for the audiobook because there's a lot of different actors and actresses, and I'm enjoying that. And it's helping because with all the characters, it makes it a little bit easier to keep track. But the thing that's given me kind of a creepy feeling, back to the neighbors, there's this yoga instructor who's real helpful to Nicole when she finds her husband face down in the pool. But there's these flashbacks where the yoga instructor, it seems like she didn't always live in that neighborhood, and she wormed her way into the life of this grieving widow, this elderly woman who I think previously owned Manor House. And she, I guess, was wealthy, and her husband Nick died. And I don't know if that's deliberate or not, but that's giving my aging brain, fogging menopausal brain a little bit of trouble, because there's Nicole, whose husband died in the pool, and then there's Nick, who is, I guess, the man who died. And so we flash back to this woman, and her husband Nick died, and she's really sad and she's grieving. And this yoga instructor, Sasha, the next door neighbor, has wormed her way into the elderly woman's life. And I just think that's so creepy. I like elderly people, and I don't think they're necessarily easily deceived and confused. So I hope the book isn't suggesting that they are. But I will say that, and this is really disturbing and frustrating, but I will say that often when someone is a widow or widower, when someone dies, there are other people who get in there and take advantage. There are actually people, from what I'm told, I had a friend who someone died, an elderly person died, and these people would read the obituaries and then worm their way into the family of the grieving, or worm their way into the widow or the widower's life and take advantage of them. Like, that is a thing from what I understand. And I think that's what's going on in this book. And it bothers me because it's so cruel and evil. But it is a thing. When my mother died, my cousin took me aside at the funeral and said, just, be aware that people are going to start moving in on possibly your dad, his uncle. And he told me this. He said that when his dad, my uncle, died, that, no, I'm sorry. And he told me that when his mom died, he said that his dad, who would be my uncle, was actually propositioned in a sympathy card. So, I mean, it's a thing. It's a creepy, disgusting thing. But I do think that there are people who will take advantage of the grieving, and maybe we need to be more proactive and look out for our loved ones when they're grieving. I think we have a tendency to want to, I have a tendency to want to give them their space and back off and let them grieve. But maybe that's lazy and selfish on my part. Maybe I need to insert myself a little bit more into the lives of people I care about, because there are definitely a lot of people out there that will insert themselves with ill intent. So, that seems to be something going on in this book. In my own life, I will say, a little annoyed right now because I'm getting a deck built outside, a deck, like a screened-in deck. I had the deck demolished and a screened-in deck built. And and I made the down payment last October. Not the October that just passed, but the October before the October that just passed. And I'm still dealing with construction on this deck. And so today they're here, and I should be glad about that they're here and they're working on my deck. But it's like boom, 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 boom. And poor old Truffles, she's not even in this video because she's like, what happened? What's going on? she's hiding. She'll poke her head out and look at me, make sure I'm like, okay. And then she'll go back and hide. So there's a lot of, oh, here comes Truffles. It's like she knows I said something about her. But anyway, there's a lot going on there. Maybe I'll give you a picture of the deck, or I'll show you the deck at some point in this video. Wouldn't that be nice to have something to show? So Truffles is back. You can tell, I think, from looking at her, she's not happy, but she's back. So I just wanted to let you know, there she is. She's okay. No cats were harmed in the making of this deck. So the deck people just left. They left. Truffles is in recovery, but I wanted to get a look out here and see what all they did. I hope that the deck will be very beautiful when it's done. I am really excited about getting a screened-in deck. But right now, it's hard for me to see what's really been done. So I'm brand new to this stuff. What do I know? They worked hard, and hats off to them because it's very cold. I'll show you. There's snow outside, you can see, and the mud that they've tracked. Can you see the mud that they've tracked all through the there's mud everywhere. Let me see if you can, I might have to switch it. I'll switch the angle of the camera and show you all the mud. But also, this, it looks like what they were working on. Up here was exposed, and there was some sort of, it's like a cathedral ceiling, and there's some sort of issue with the permit people. They didn't want to give a permit because they were concerned about the roof. And, certainly they should be. I don't want the roof to collapse in the deck after I've had it built. But there was like open stuff here for the longest time up here. I was so worried that an animal would crawl in there and die or something, and I'd have like the smell in my house, and because that was exposed for the longest time, and yet there's a little bit of shelter, so hopefully nothing got up there. But anyway, they covered that up. I'm gonna switch the camera if I'm able and show you the work they've done. Okay, so here's all the mud, you know, and I say that out of respect for them. They must have, and all the, look at all that mud they were working in order to get this deck, I guess, done. But they certainly had all summer, so I'm sorry about that, though. I wouldn't want to be out in the cold and the rain and the mud. And then here, and I know I sound petty, and you know, maybe I'll even edit this out, but I pay people to do my grass, and you know, they've left stuff all over my backyard all summer long. My kid couldn't play his sports, and the grass is killed, and there's like a junkyard in my backyard. So I am annoyed about that, and I'm like, why am I paying people to treat the lawn if this is going on? So there's like this white inside, and you know, they left ladder. I guess they'll be back tomorrow. So that's the deck. And then up here is the cathedral ceiling. There's going to be a ceiling fan with a light coming down from there. And over here, there's going to be a porch swing. And then in the middle, there's going to be a dining room, a very small, obviously, dining room table. And then I'm going to probably, well, I was planning to put a bookshelf here, but it's kind of close to the screen. I wouldn't want the books to get wet, so I'm not sure. We'll see how that works. I might be able to fit it by the porch swing, but I don't know. It's going to be a tight fit. Okay, so I finished Manor House, and there were definitely some interesting plot twists. I gotta tell you, there were some that surprised me, some that I saw coming. I think I'm a pretty good judge of characters, at least fictional characters. Some of them I figured out pretty quickly, but I did love the plot twists, and especially toward the end. And the protagonists in the book I thought were great. I loved the women friendships, the different women in the book, and the different perspectives and personalities that were in that book. So highly recommend Manor House.